A kid jumps over a bar in his backyard in a way nobody had ever jumped before. His neighbors thought he was doing it wrong. His college coach ordered him to stop. He set a world record anyway. The first world record in high jump history ratified by an international governing body. Set in 1912, broken only twice in the next decade. And the technique he invented, by accident, in a yard in a valley no one had ever heard of, is still the ancestor of every modern high jump style on Earth. That valley is Escondido, California, a city of 150,000 people tucked 30 miles inland from San Diego, invisible to most of the country, hidden in plain sight. The name means hidden in Spanish. It is not hiding anything. It just keeps doing significant things in a quiet voice. This is the story of a grape capital that got destroyed overnight, a soap empire built by a man who escaped shock treatments, a federal judge who stopped a city law in 24 hours, and a high school girl who ran the slowest Olympic race in modern history and got a standing ovation from 80,000 strangers. Escondido was not supposed to be a city at all. In 1843, a man named Juan Bautista Alvarado received the Rincón del Diablo land grant from the Mexican government, Devil's Corner, a 17,000-acre valley east of the coastal hills. He ranched it. The land sat quiet for 40 years. Then came the speculators. In 1886, a group called the Escondido Land and Town Company bought the ranch and began plotting streets. 2 years later, in 1888, Escondido incorporated as a city. The founders needed a reason for people to move there. They found one underground. Water, the San Luis Rey River, and a network of streams fed the valley floor. In 1891, the Escondido Irrigation District issued $350,000 in bonds to build a canal and reservoir system. Landowners started planting, and the thing Escondido's soil and heat loved most was a fat, honey-sweet grape called the Muscat. By the 1890s, Escondido was the grape capital of Southern California. Carloads of Muscat shipped north and east. Wineries opened on the valley roads. The population grew. But in 1891, the irrigation bonds nearly sank the town. A depression hit. The bonds went underwater. For 2 years, the debt hung over every property owner in the valley. Then, on California Admission Day, September 9, 1893, 3,000 people gathered in a field. City leaders lit a bonfire. Into the fire went the cancelled bond certificates, $350,000 of financial weight reduced to ash in one afternoon. People called it Freedom Day. The next year they came back to the same field with grapes and music. By 1908, Freedom Day had a new name, Grape Day. Every September 9th, a parade ran down Grand Avenue. Floats, 5 bands, marching units, a beauty queen crowned each year. Free bunches of Muscat passed out from flatbed trucks. People came from Los Angeles, 2 hours by train, just to eat Escondido grapes. The festival ran uninterrupted from 1908 to 1950, 42 years, the oldest harvest celebration in Southern California. The grapes were that good, and the valley was that proud of them. And then, on an October evening in 1920, federal and county officers showed up in force. Prohibition had gone into effect 9 months earlier. The officers hit 3 Escondido area wineries in a single night. They seized several thousand gallons of fermenting mash. They seized hundreds of gallons of finished wine. They loaded 5 tons of grapes onto trucks. The Escondido Times-Advocate covered it the next morning. The paper called it the most extensive raid yet made in San Diego County, and noted that it brought the total number of places raided around Escondido to 5 in just the past few weeks. 5 tons of grapes. Gone overnight. Winemaking had been Escondido's economic spine since the 1880s. Prohibition didn't just end wine production, it ripped out the vines. By 1933, when Prohibition was repealed, only 4 San Diego County wineries had survived the 13-year drought. Escondido's industry was gone. The Muscat fields became avocado groves and citrus orchards. A different kind of farming, a quieter kind. Grape Day kept going, the parade, the queen, the free fruit, but it was memorial by then, not celebration. The industry it commemorated was dead. The festival finally ended in 1950. Escondido rebuilt slowly. By the 1950s, it was a modest inland suburb, growing quietly as San Diego expanded. The avocado orchards gave way to subdivisions. New employers arrived. The city crept toward 50,000 people, then 75,000, then 100,000. But Escondido had been producing strange stories all along. Most people just never heard them. In 1890, a boy named George Horine was born in this valley. He grew up, discovered the high jump, quit, came back and started training himself in his backyard. His family had recently moved. The yard was a particular shape. The layout forced him to approach the bar from the left side instead of the right. No one had ever done that before. He kicked his lead foot over first, then rolled his body sideways as his torso crossed the bar. Coaches who watched him said he was jumping backward. They said it was wrong. He enrolled at Stanford. His coach immediately ordered him to use a conventional style. He tried. In 1911, jumping the conventional way, he matched the NCAA record at 6 feet 4 inches. Then he went back to the backyard style. In the spring of 1912, he pushed the collegiate record to 6 feet 4 3/4. Then he broke the world record with 6 feet 6 1/8 inches. A few weeks later, he became the first human being in recorded history to clear 2 meters. 6 feet 7 inches. The world record ratified by the IAAF, the governing body of international athletics, had never before been recognized in the high jump. Horine's was the first. He went to the 1912 Stockholm Olympics. He won bronze. He never improved on his peak height. But the technique he invented in an Escondido yard, the Western roll, became the dominant high jump style for the next 30 years, and it seeded every modern variation that followed. No plaque in Escondido marks the backyard. No street is named for George Horine. 34 years after Horine's record, a very different kind of man arrived in the valley. Emanuel Bronner had been born in Germany in 1908 into a family of master soap makers. He came to America in 1929, fleeing the rising Nazi state that would kill most of his family who stayed. In the United States, he developed an intense philosophy he called the All-One Message. A vision of human unity he tried to share by giving speeches anywhere he could find a crowd. In 1946, he gave an unauthorized lecture at the University of Chicago. Local authorities had him arrested and committed to the Elgin State Mental Hospital in Illinois. He received shock treatments that he later said destroyed his eyesight. Then he escaped. He hitchhiked across the country. He arrived in California and eventually found his way to Escondido, a quiet, hidden valley where a man with unconventional ideas could work without being bothered. He set up a modest property he turned into a hybrid soap factory and lecture hall. He kept giving speeches about unity. People kept politely taking his soap and ignoring the philosophy. So Bronner put the philosophy on the label, 3,000 words, packed onto the bottle, in multiple fonts, in caps, exclamation marks everywhere. Every bottle of Dr. Bronner's still carries it today. By the time Emanuel Bronner died in Escondido on March 7, 1997, his company was producing 1.5 million bottles annually. Today it is a global brand worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Born in a valley where a man with no medical degree and a history of involuntary commitment decided the world needed better soap and a cleaner conscience. By 2000, Escondido had roughly 130,000 people. The city was majority Hispanic, with Latino families having built deep roots in the agricultural economy over decades. The median household income sat well below the California average. The housing market was cheaper than coastal San Diego, a draw for working families. Then came October 2006. The Escondido City Council passed Ordinance 2006-38R. It banned landlords from renting apartments to undocumented immigrants. Landlords who rented to anyone defined as an illegal alien would face fines of up to $1,000 per day, up to 6 months in jail, and the suspension of their business licenses. The ordinance was modeled on similar legislation in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, and was designed to take effect on November 18th. A coalition that included the ACLU, MALDEF, the Fair Housing Council of San Diego, and People for the American Way filed suit on November 3rd. They argued the ordinance violated federal immigration law, due process, fair housing law, and the property rights of both landlords and tenants. Federal Judge John A. Houston issued a temporary restraining order on November 16th, one day before the law was set to go into effect. He said the measure raised serious questions and could cause irreparable harm. After the ruling, a plaintiff's attorney quipped that the judge couldn't find much about the ordinance that was legal. On December 13, 2006, 56 days after passage, the city of Escondido consented to a permanent injunction barring enforcement of the ordinance forever. The city paid $90,000 in attorney's fees to the plaintiffs. The city's own legal costs were estimated at $100,000 to $150,000, with acknowledgement that, had it gone to trial, those costs could have exceeded $1 million. The city also admitted in writing that the ordinance had a fatal structural flaw. There was no assured federal database that landlords could actually use to verify tenants' immigration status. 56 days, roughly $250,000 of public money, and a permanent ban on a law the city council had passed unanimously. Escondido today is a city negotiating its identity in real time. The population sits around 150,000 and has been declining slightly since a peak of 151,045 in 2020. The city covers 36.8 square miles of inland valley, ringed by hills. The demographic breakdown tells the story plainly: 52% Hispanic, 33% white, 8% Asian. The median age is 36.9 years. The median household income reached $91,967 in 2024, above the national median but well below coastal San Diego. Home prices average around $860,000 to $925,000, depending on the zip code, putting ownership out of reach for much of the workforce that powers the city's economy. Palomar Health, headquartered in Escondido, is the largest public healthcare district in California. Stone Brewing, the largest brewery in Southern California, relocated from San Marcos to Escondido in 2006 and turned its campus into a destination. The San Diego Zoo Safari Park sits in the San Pasqual Valley just outside city limits, drawing 2 million visitors a year to 1,800 acres that were once the ranching land of this region. The current crisis is homelessness. In the 2025 point-in-time count, 307 unsheltered individuals were identified in Escondido. The 2026 count showed 271, a 12% drop that outpaced the regional average. The city attributes the improvement to a combination of an encampment ordinance, active creek trail clearings, and a partnership with interfaith community services that helped 682 individuals access treatment and housing in a single year. Senior homelessness, however, is rising, the one sub-trend that city leaders have flagged as an unresolved problem. Which brings us back to the valley itself. Escondido means hidden. In Spanish, the word carries a specific implication, not just concealed, but deliberately so. Something tucked away. Something that doesn't announce itself. That quality runs through every chapter of this city's story. A high jumper who invented a world record technique by accident and went to the Olympics without fanfare. A soap maker who rebuilt his life in a quiet rural property after escaping forced institutionalization. A harvest festival that ran for 42 years, commemorating an industry that no longer existed. A city law that lasted 56 days before a federal judge buried it. And then there is Sarah Attar. She grew up in Escondido, ran track at Escondido High School, and attended Pepperdine University on average times. In July 2012, 1 month before the London Olympics, Saudi Arabia, a country that had never sent a female athlete to any Olympics, was required by the International Olympic Committee to send women for the first time. There were almost no female athletes to choose from. Saudi girls were prohibited from participating in sports in public schools, but Sarah Attar held dual citizenship through her Saudi father. She was a college junior. She had not raced the 800 meters since high school. She ran in London on August 8, 2012. The race started. The other 7 women pulled away immediately. 40 seconds before the finish, she was alone on the track. 80,000 people in the Olympic Stadium watched a girl from Escondido, in a white headscarf and long black leggings, run the final stretch by herself. She finished in 2 minutes and 44.95 seconds, last in her heat by a massive margin, second to last out of 41 total runners in the 800. Her name trended worldwide on Twitter. The stadium gave her a standing ovation. She wasn't there to win. She was there because a city in a hidden valley raised a runner who understood the difference between finishing and quitting. George Horine went into a backyard and built something the world didn't have a word for yet. Bronner escaped an institution and built something the world didn't know it needed. A city council passed a law and a judge stopped it before it breathed. A harvest festival ran 42 years for an industry that died in a single October night. Escondido is not a city that makes loud noise about itself. It never has been. It just keeps producing things that matter in spite of that.